One of the most important lessons that I've learned in life is to be grateful. Growing up, I didn't really have a whole lot. I wouldn't necessarily say I didn't have a whole lot, but I had just enough to get by. And because of that, sometimes we chase for more stuff. Sometimes I would look at what other people have and I'd think, man, if only I just had just a little bit more, maybe I'd be a little happier. But as time moves on, when you attain the things that you wanted in the past, you still feel that emptiness inside. And sometimes you ask yourself, well, why do I even feel this way? I have the things that I wanted, but why do I still feel that emptiness? Because deep down with each and every one of us, there's an inner desire to want more than what we have. And because of that, we are never truly fulfilled in anything that we do. And it leads us to be sad. It leads us to be empty. And that emptiness can be gone. The solution to get rid of emptiness is gratitude. Now, gratitude is basically saying, I may not have as much as I want. I may not be in a position in life that I want to be. I may not be the person that I desire to be, but at least I'm not where I used to be. And where I'm at right now, I choose to be grateful for what I have. No matter how good life is, no matter how bad life is, I am grateful for the fact that I'm even sitting in this chair and talking to a microphone. When you start to look at life in a perspective of gratitude, when you start to have a deep sense of empathy towards the people around you, you look at the circumstances of your friends, other family members, even coworkers, and you think to yourself, man, even if I think I have it rough, at least it's not as bad as the person next to me who probably wish they were in my shoes. There could be people out there who would kill to be in my shoes, and it gives you that sense of perspective of why should I complain if there's people out there who have it worse? And even just as a personal example, after high school, I practically was doing nothing with my life. I was always complaining. I was practically, in the modern term, I was practically a chud. I was always just playing video games all day, not putting any effort in my own life. At that time, I didn't have any aspirations in my life, and it led me to spiral down a path that I didn't think I would ever get myself out of. I remember getting my first job, not being grateful for it, and then quitting not even 2.5 weeks later. And being in a point where, like, I always viewed life like there was a sense of obligation towards myself in the past. And eventually it led me to a point where I had no gratitude for anything and took a lot of things in my life for granted. And then I remember working with my grandparents at their restaurant, just helping them out, and in a way, things got slightly better, but there was still that sense of emptiness, that sense of dread, because there were times where I think to myself, like, man, is this how the rest of my life is just gonna be? Like, am I just gonna be this way? Like, there's always that inner desire for more. Like, I want to earn more money, or I want to do this, I want to do that. Like, there was always the deep desire for more. And eventually, when I ended up leaving that job, I ended up just, as I said, shut it away. I was just being lazy, didn't really have any aspirations, just like I did before. And eventually, it got to a point where I had no hope for life. There were times where I thought about not being alive anymore. And it wasn't until then, in that moment in my life, when I found God. And in that moment in my life, I learned to be grateful. I realized that I don't need everything figured out. I don't need to have everything in the world to feel that I've accomplished something, but that accomplishment came from God alone and no one else. And in the process, I decided to get my life together and took life one step at a time. And as I did that, I was able to get my driver's license. When for the longest time when I was unemployed after high school, I had never had a driver's license, never bothered to learn how to drive even. I then got a job at my local Walmart, and then after that, just pretty much locked in. Then started taking care of myself, going to the gym. I was living with a couple buddies of mine, whom I still hold dear to this day. And in a lot of ways, where I'm at now, I am very much grateful for everything I have. And I may sound like a broken record a lot, but when it comes to anxiety, if you ever struggle with anxiety or stress, or just wondering where life's going to go, remember to just take a step back and just be grateful with where you're at. Because there could be another person out there who would wish to be in your shoes. That job that you're complaining about every day that you dread to go to, someone out there is praying to have a job. That car you drive, somebody wishes they have a car to be able to go places. The stuff that you have, there are people out there who don't have it who wish they did. Don't take anything that you have for granted, because you never know when it might be taken away from you. And even on a deeper level, there are people in your life, your family, your friends. There's times where I feel like I take that for granted a lot, because I remember one of my coworkers, one of the most energetic people I know, one of the most positive, upbeat people that I know. And he spent most of his life in prison. He spent about 31 years in prison, and he got out last year. And I remember when he told me the one thing that he misses the most when he got out was his mom and dad. And man, it really hit me when he said that, because it makes me realize, like, dude, like, I feel like I take my parents for granted way too much. And in a lot of ways, it's just always a reminder that we should never take anything we have for granted, because you never know when that might be taken away from you one day. And then you look back and think to yourself, man, what if I just told that person that I love them? Or what if I told my family, like my mom or my dad, like, man, like, what if I just told them in the past that, hey, you've done so much for me and I'm grateful for everything you've done? Or just tell them that you love them. Anything like that. Don't ever hesitate in taking a decision in life too, because you're going to be left with regret. And even when it comes to family, like, even being grateful for my family, but even too, like, even in your own personal relationships, like, let's say you have a spouse. It's hard for me to give relationship advice because I've never been in a relationship in my life. But one thing I will say is that even in a relationship, be grateful with your spouse, because you never know how life might go. And even for me, I may be single and alone, but I'm grateful for it. I've learned to be happy about myself, even in spite of the fact that I may seem alone. I may seem like I need another person to fill that void in my life. But in reality, I like where I'm at right now. And even if that woman might come in my life, so be it. That'll be cool. But I can't rely on those things in life to fulfill the hole in my heart that only God can fill. But at the end of the day, the one thing you have to understand is that if you ever have anxiety, if you ever have stress in life, learn to be grateful. Learn to take a step back and be thankful for the things that you have. And be thankful to yourself in improving yourself. And no matter what you're going through, know that it'll all be worth it in the end.